Welcome everyone. This is the Owner Origin Podcast brought to you by the Economic Alliance Houston Cote region. And today's guest that we have this morning is Mr. Ryan Taylor, born and raised in Pasadena.
Born in Marrero, Louisiana.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Moved to the Pasadena area. Actually, we moved to Houston first, kind of the southeast part of Houston, close to Pasadena. Whenever I was 5, I believe.
What was the reason for y'all's move? What?
Work. Dad got out of the Vietnam conflict. Worked there in Belchase, Louisiana, which is where our family's from.
Yep.
Brown and Root had a big laydown yard that was a dissemination point for projects that they had scattered all over the globe. Brown and Root was a substantial company at that point in time. My grandfather, who was really considered a lifer with Brown and Root. My grandfather had a very interesting past. Served in 2 different wars, orphaned at 9 years old.
Wow.
Been to 14 different countries in 38 different states. Background was his background was construction, but how we ended up in Houston was Petrotex, which I don't think it's called that anymore. I still call it that, but it was a new processing plant that was going to make a new resin for plastics. Was being built right at the intersection of 225 and 610.
Okay.
And my grandfather was part of the group from Brown and Root that came that did the layout and the site utilities for the new plant.
Okay.
Being a lifer at Brown and Root, my grandfather would basically follow Brown and Root to any new location, and obviously he worked for them. But then whenever they had something that they were going to contract outside of their scope, like a spur line that came into a facility, or a fire water pond, or other infrastructure projects that they would sub out, my grandfather would just end up starting a business, and he would go do that thing. And then when that part of that job was over with, he'd go right back to work for Brown and Root.
So he actually would start a business to serve Brown and Root, and then
as a subcontractor, finish that scope of the project, and he'd go right back to work for Brown and Root.
I guess so. Brown and Root didn't do that scope of work under its own umbrella. It technically was.
I mean, just like any general contractor, they hired out certain parts of the job, but he was. I asked him when he was around and I was a young man. I was like, how did you know how to do a railroad spur, or build a water tower, or do a fire water tank, or thank you. He's like, you just kind of figured it out.
I think that generation of our grandparents were they just figured it out. There were no blueprints at that point. It was
So the draw for Petrotex obviously was Brown and Root, but then he got a contract to build some firewater ponds. Ironically, years later, when T&T was doing some work out there, and I was still on my tools, I was actually building a building adjacent to the same firewater ponds that my grandfather had built 25 years earlier. 30 years earlier.
So your dad at this point, had he started your grandfather had started T&T yet?
No, it was C.A. Taylor Construction back then.
Okay.
And
what year was that?
This was probably 64, 65.
Okay.
It wasn't until, probably 70 or 71 that
it went to T&T.
Well, actually, a little bit later than that, but it wasn't until 70 or 71 that my grandfather came to Houston. It wasn't until 74, 75 that him and my dad partnered up.
Okay.
So he moved. Dad moved mom, me, and the dog to Houston. Started working for Brown and Root at the Petrochem site. Somewhere around 75, 76, they started T&T Construction, which stood for Taylor and Taylor.
And at that point, they decided, they said, we're not going to follow Brown and Root. We got enough work in this area that, you know.
Ironically, they were still doing Brown and Root work.
Well, yeah,
as a
and obviously
subcontractor.
Brown
Yeah.
and Root had a big presence here, so
Yeah.
probably maybe there was just so much work that they could
Yeah.
just settle in.
Along the way, my grandfather befriended some folks, and they worked together. Mostly a gentleman by the name of R.Q. Mills.
Mhm.
R.Q. was known, very well known in that time in Pasadena. He owned a very large landscaping company, and basically what he would do is go in and get pad sites ready for new home construction.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he did a little bit of excavation work, a little bit of storm drainage. Matter of fact, my grandfather and R.Q. Mills did the South Ward. They did all the utilities, did all the storm drainage, laid most of the asphalt back then.
Yeah.
For South Ward. You know, when my dad and my grandfather came together, they were still doing predominantly asphalt work. My dad was the one who actually kind of introduced concrete work, and again, not having any real skill set in that genre of construction, just, you know, got a job, figured it out, and moved on from there.
It's like this looks like something new. We'll figure it out, and it's going to be the future.
It was one common denominator. If it looked like they could make money doing it,
Yeah,
they would go try to do
right.
it.
That's right. So your grandfather comes over. So does he come over by himself at first, or does your dad follow with him? I think you said that
no.
too.
Yeah,
They come together.
I'm not real sure the timeline of how many years. I mean, obviously the high school years, they lived in Bellchase.
Yeah.
That's where my dad attended high school,
Yeah.
where his sister attended high school. But once he went into the service, my grandfather moved around quite a bit.
Okay. Yeah. How long was your dad in service for?
4 years.
4 years. Okay.
Yeah,
And he
4
served Army.
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 He was in artillery.
Yeah. And
Artillery.
you say he served in Vietnam?
He did.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
And
3 years in the country.
What? I mean,
You
I know a lot of guys
just-
from Vietnam is such. I mean, some people don't share it and keep it bottled up. You know, and I know your dad. He was always kind of a quiet. He's like my dad, kind of a quiet, stern man and everything like that.
Yeah.
But it's like, did he tell you stories
You know,
and things about that?
I got bits and pieces. I mean, mostly the quote unquote good times there. He didn't speak much of the bad times. I mean, he did tell me some stories about some very long nights and days where, you know, they would literally shell for, you know, 24 to 48 hours. You know, of course, the enlisted were never really told who, what, and how they were, you know, what they were shelling. So, you know, I mean, he was predominantly on a gun called a 405, which could lob a projectile about a mile.
Wow.
So he, and then I think what was it? No, I'm sorry. He was on the 305. The 405 could lob a projectile about 2 miles. So he alternated between those two guns. And they were a mobile base. They moved quite a bit. Weirdly enough, though, they would only move a couple of miles in either direction. So I think it was basically how the line was advancing is kind of where they were set up. So, for example, if the line moved a little bit to the north, then they moved. If the line moved more to the east or the west, they moved. So obviously they were there to support the guys on the ground. So
I just think about, you know, how much you as a person changes after going off and living a completely different life in combat like that in a different country, and then recollect, you know, pull yourself together to get back into a routine, and I wonder how much he was different from prior to what his plans were and his thoughts and his career were, or whether it all stayed on track, but it maybe helped him in terms of be able to endure the challenges and things that starting a business involves.
It's weird, you know, when you read a little bit, you know, when you read history, especially during that period. I mean, the whole country was in turmoil.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, Steve. If you and I were 18 years old and having to go to another country to fight,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're going to come back changed.
Yeah.
My father-in-law in particular, he never spoke about his time there.
Yeah.
But apparently he was awarded some recognition that is not typical of enlisted. He wasn't an officer, but
So he probably did something special, unique,
Yeah.
and it might have traumatized
and
him.
unfortunately, I never got a chance to hear those stories from him. He just didn't share them, and he came back changed.
Yeah.
I know that to be true because my mother-in-law spoke about it quite often, especially after he passed.
Yeah.
How different he was when he got back.
So so your grandfather's over, and then your dad comes over and moves you guys. You said you're about 5 years old and stuff. And then, you were born, you were 69, December of 69. I'm June of 70s.
You just keep rubbing that in that you're younger than me.
Well, I have to respect my elders.
Yeah, you just keep rubbing. Okay,
We'll show my respect. But
by the way, viewers, Steve and I have known each other for over 30 years.
Yes.
We probably should have prefaced all this.
yes, we have. We went to high school together, and we have a lot of incriminating photos of each other.
Yes,
But anyway, so that's what keeps it all cordial and professional.
Some of us more than others.
Absolutely. So, so you're moving over at 5 years old, you said, right? And they're starting to work together in the business. At what point did you ever realize, from the youngest age you can recollect, that your mom and dad, or at least your dad, didn't have a boss? I mean, he's the owner of the company. He's what?
It was early. I mean, I probably can't tell you an age, but it feels like I've always known that. I mean, so they moved over here pretty quickly. I was probably 6 or 7. Dad and my grandfather were in business together.
Yeah.
So, pretty early. I mean, I knew, and of course, every night, old school dinner was on the table at 6, and Dad was home every night, so I heard about it. I heard about the day's events at a very young age, so I got the ins and outs of business, whether I liked it or not.
That's interesting too, because I was having a conversation with Amy last night and kind of going over some different things I wanted to talk to you about, and I wanted to hear about what it's like in the Taylor house as you're growing up. What were some of the different things? What was the majority of the dominating conversation that your mom and dad talked?
It was work. It was always work. I mean, I don't think there was a day that passed that we didn't talk about TNT construction.
And what was that conversation like in terms? Was it angry? Was it, or just getting it off my chest, or was it you wouldn't believe, or how did your dad kind of relay all that?
Mom and dad worked together too. Mom was in the business as well. She basically was the bookkeeper and the HR person and the janitor, and she was the really the brains behind the operation. You really want to know the truth.
I know the feeling.
But they would strategize. They would talk about employees. They would talk about customers. They would talk about schedules and work. And they didn't necessarily talk about sensitive things. It's funny. Years later, I find out the struggles that the businesses were going through. But I wasn't. I wasn't. It was probably spoken about. I just wasn't cognitive enough, to figure out what all that meant. As I got older, I understood it because obviously, Dad would bring me every weekend to the office because he never stopped working. Saturdays and Sundays were just another day. We rested on Sunday, but Saturday was the day to work.
Yep.
Even whenever I got into high school and had sports, if I wasn't playing sports or in school, I was doing something in the business.
And what age were you when he started taking you up there? I mean,
all of it was interesting to me because they had big yellow equipment and
big old Tonka trucks.
Big old Tonka trucks. So in Dad, to his credit, and my grandfather too. I'll have to kind of tell you the transition between
please do.
when we moved here to me as a teenager, but. My grandmother had my grandfather's wife had MS, and if you don't know much about the disease, it's pretty bad for a little while. Then you go into remission. You're okay for a little bit. It gets bad a little bit. And then you go back into remission, but of course then it escalates where the bad times are worse or longer than
and you keep deteriorating more and more.
There you go. And so. I ironically, my dad and my grandfather, being T&T Construction, really didn't work together for all that long. Maybe full time, 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
After that, my grandfather pretty much retired to take care of my grandmother.
I see.
So my memory of my grandfather is me being 10 or 11. He would come pick me up every Saturday morning, and he would take me around he had a network of widow women that were where he would mow grass, wash cars.
Through the church or
I don't know. I don't know how he found these people or how they found him. I never got that.
Wow.
All I know is years later I figured out these were probably all his girlfriends
oh, jeez.
because he was inside sipping coffee while I was outside mowing and weeding and doing the yard work. So,
Now you realize why you were being brought around. It's like we got to mow the yard.
Yeah.
We have to mow the yard, but really you do.
Yeah, exactly. But I learned a lot from him. My grandfather was very handy. I mean, he could fix a door. He was very handy.
Yeah, just like we were
he
saying.
could change a water heater. He was installing garbage disposals because those were all the rage back then.
Mhm.
He could fix appliances. I mean, he was just a handy dude.
Yeah.
Complete opposite with my dad. My dad was not a handy guy. Ironically, ran and operated a construction company, but he wasn't very handy.
Well, I mean, yeah, and we'll get into those.
So
And it's true. If somebody is handy and compared to someone who's not, it's amazing how much of a natural thing that is of understanding how something will
I
work
would
and
agree
being
with
able
that.
to tinker and tear it apart and fix it, or So yeah, it's
So my summers and weekends were with my grandfather a lot of times, and then if my dad needed me, he would pull me to the side, and when I would go to work for him or
Yep.
with him during some summer days. But so that transition where my grandfather was taking care of my grandmother, it was really just my dad and my mom running the business,
Yeah.
and truthfully, they were the ones that grew it to the company that I knew as a kid. I mean, what I mean by that is that we weren't working as a subcontractor to another contractor. We were our own standalone business.
Yep.
Dad would bid and solicit work on his own, get work on his own, because the time before that, when my grandfather and like RQ Mills were working together,
yeah.
most of that was RQ Mills selling the work, not having the workforce to go do the work, would hire my grandfather and to be like a subcontractor
Yeah.
under him.
You can go bid work with the concrete. And
Yeah.
you guys were-
So
the asphalt.
Dad kind of pulled us out of the labor pool business and got us into quote unquote business, very similar to what we do today.
Yeah.
And so that whole transition between my father and my dad, or my grandfather, was really most of that time, believe it or not, was spent with my grandfather. I mean, I spent a lot of time with him. I mean, I remember him letting me drive whenever I was 13 years old, just because he wanted me to have the experience. Of course, he was just a cool grandfather.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Looking back, it probably wasn't the healthiest role model, but
I mean, it's that time where we didn't have all the safety features that everybody else has.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even think we had seatbelts back in the 70s, right? I mean,
we didn't have any helicopter parenting going on back then. You just had to be home before dark. That was pretty much the rule.
yeah, if it didn't kill you, it made you stronger.
Pretty
so it's
much,
like,
yeah.
he drove, he didn't die, and didn't kill
Pretty
anybody.
much.
So yeah.
But no, at an early age, I mean, of course, growing up, I had no idea. I mean, at an early age, I was able to operate equipment and finish concrete and set forms and, do physical work that most young men were able to do, all because I think because I enjoyed it, they let me try a lot of things.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I messed up plenty, but they weren't scared to let me go try something. So
Yeah.
very fortunate that way. Very fortunate. I wouldn't trade that time, or even whenever I finally went into the business, the decade of being out in the field, I wouldn't trade that for anything.
No, because I mean, intricately the front line of that business and why you're being hired and what the work needs to look like and how it needs to be done. And you understand the work involved and the cost factor eventually as you get, and so,
But I
I
got
mean,
to see the whole process. I mean, I got to see it from the inception of, an owner's idea of what it is that he wanted to us helping him tweak that idea to make it, the most effective for him to getting paid. So,
well, and that's exactly how your grandfather started. He started working for Brown and Root. Guarantee you, he was pouring asphalt and
Oh,
doing
yeah.
all the manual labor that needed to be done. And then when he's having to go be a subcontractor and set up an entity just to do, I mean, he's done it. And
Yeah.
so, and then when he's in business with your dad, he's done it. And so, man, that's really interesting. I love the discussion. I never knew the component of what moved y'all to Houston and Pasadena and how much and where your grandfather played a role. I just always knew that they were in business initially together, and so it's neat seeing what. So my thought process is, if you don't grow up in that model, let's say you're orphaned at birth and brought to wherever with a family that doesn't own a business, do you think inherently your DNA would have led you to owning your own business, or how do you think about that when you think back?
I mean, I would like to say that 100% that I would be an entrepreneur. We talked a little bit about this before we started. I mean, yes, I think I always had the drive to be good at work. Coming from a working family, it was prideful. I mean, I remember my dad saying, my grandfather saying, we work hard. That's the family motto. We work hard, and they did, and I did too. But I didn't mind it. I don't ever remember begrudging, having to get up early. Well, I mean, as a 16-year-old.
Yeah, we were 16.
Yeah.
My parents at the donut shop. There was no calling in sick the next morning.
Especially whenever I got in at 3 a.m. the night before. But
And I think I was with you.
You probably were. But no, I don't ever remember thinking to myself, man, this is terrible. I mean, unless it was, a day like today where it's, wind chill of 21. There were some of those days, but I never really minded the work, so it came naturally. I was good at it, so and of course, I got a lot of praise for being a young man who worked hard. I mean, even Dad's peers who obviously were all older than me, and I mean, I was the young. So my grandfather's brother's son, which is my dad's cousin, owned Pasadena Rentals, which was a large rental company in Pasadena for years and years and years. So it was very close to our office. So we spent a lot of time over there early mornings before we would actually go to work. Everybody kind of congregated over there to drink coffee and horseplay, and then we'd all go to work. But the older guys loved the fact that I was an owner's son and I worked hard. I came in with mud on my boots and dirty blue jeans and calluses on my hands. They thought that was cool, so I played into it because again, I didn't mind it and I was good at it. So
well, and not only that, you're a young man and you're getting respect from.
Yeah, it's an identity thing. As young men growing up, trying to figure out your way in the world. Hell, you're still trying to figure out. 55, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm
100%.
supposed to do whenever I grow up.
I know that feeling.
One day, but no, those were good times, especially spending all that quality time with my grandfather. He was just an interesting dude. He wasn't a big sharer. You had to pull stuff out of him.
Yeah.
But he was, I saw sides of my grandfather that was scary. I mean, he was a big dude. He was not scared to fight. He pretty much said what was on his mind anytime, any situation, which for me, who's not a confrontational person, that was foreign to me. And I remember sometimes him making me uncomfortable by how he was speaking to somebody else.
Yeah. Because you knew him as, Grandpa would take me out on Saturdays and, Saturday mornings and things like that.
Yeah,
And
I saw him put a guy on his butt one time, and that was an eye opener. That was the first time I ever saw anybody strike somebody else, other than as a kid horse playing. But I mean, it isn't how quickly he turned around and went right back to what he was doing.
being who he,
Yeah, I mean, it was an eye opener. But yeah, so that was my growing up, quote unquote, in the business. It was awesome. It was awesome.
But as far as you're unsure as to whether nature versus nurture, if you were on your own, would you have started, even if it was a different business, would you have started your own business?
I really think I would have. I really do, because I mean,
because working for somebody else would have unsettled you.
the appeal to me as a young person was working for myself and doing my own thing. I mean, I didn't necessarily think at 10, 11, 12 years old that it was going to be construction, but I wouldn't have minded if it would have been. I mean, I think the transition happened pretty quickly once I got into high school, and I realized that was going to be a path for me. So, yeah, to answer your question, I think so.
Yeah, I kind of think you would. But it's an interesting. The reason why I ask it is it's very interesting to me in that capacity, just with even my own experience. My dad constantly had, from growing up in Connecticut and working in automotive factories, and being frustrated with people who were in management above him, and he felt they weren't any smarter or better at what they was doing, and he would want to solve issues and deal with things, and they wouldn't care. They would just care about the paycheck, and the only reason why they were managers because they had seniority or and they'd been there longer, and it just frustrated him, and so
great motivator.
Yeah, he had a natural itch that he's just like, I got to do something different, moves us down to Texas and starts a donut shop or works for a donut shop and works his way through it. And then I grow up in the environment of same as you, listening to them talk about the business, and you're like, okay, this is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to own the business and take care of every problem there is and be the last one that gets paid, which, you talk through the statistics, so I went back and researched 2023. What's the percentage of the population that owns an established business? It is just over 6%.
That's it?
Yeah. So you think 94% of the U.S. population, doesn't own an established business. So, what we're getting at and what I'm getting at with some of the conversation here is, what is it that makes a business owner, different? And where does it inherently come from? Because it's a different mindset. It's cut from a different cloth.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because I was probably 22, 23 years old. I'm at the World of Concrete. I know, great name for a convention.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's our biggest trade convention.
Oh yeah, it's the one in Vegas, right?
Yeah, the one in Vegas. And I'm in a management course, and they were talking about leaders and managers, and the difference between those two dichotomies. So the instructor was like, okay, so if you like being a part of a team and you like having a common goal, and I mean, he went through all these personality traits and he made you go stand in these corners, right? Yeah. So after he would read a couple of lines of these personality traits, people would get up and walk to their respective corners. So I think the second round of questionings was related to me. So I got up and went to my corner. Well, there was only 8 of us over there out of a classroom of 400.
Yeah.
That was kind of the first time I realized,
oh,
I'm built different.
Yeah.
I'm a little, not better, not worse.
No, I agree.
Just very different, because I'm looking across the other 3 quarters of the room, realizing that
there's the 93%.
I'm woefully in the minority. But I can't imagine being in any of those other corners.
I look at it no different than how you look at first responders. Something bad happens. explosion, fire.
Yeah, I'm running
90
the
something
other
percent
way.
are running the other way.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that just their instant reaction, whether it's militarily running towards the gunfire. And you're like, yeah, that's you. And thank you for you, because,
My daughter's one of them, and I want to hold her back. No,
Yeah.
don't go over there.
yeah.
You know.
I mean, so absolutely. And, but anyway, so now let me circle back to what we were talking about in terms of, so yeah, you definitely think you would still own your own business. Okay. So share with me. So a lot of times people want to know, as you're getting going, and I know your story is very interesting in this capacity because, so at one point in your life, you're working in the business, and you'll have to tell me the age because something very traumatic happened, to your family, to your dad, that changed, the trajectory. How old were you when your dad had his heart attack?
I was 28.
So 28 years old. You and your dad are running the company. What was your job and responsibility? What were you doing? What was he doing in the business at that time?
So graduated from high school in '88.
Yep.
And enrolled at what was it called then? It was St. Jack. I went to St. Jack.
We called it Harvard on the Highway.
Yeah, we call it Harvard. But I'm talking about the coursework. I think it was called like architectural. It had something to do with architect. Yeah,
looking at design.
Yeah, looking at design, and of course, I mean, Architect 101 is literally learning how to print and learning how to label and what certain things mean within the plans. First off, my penmanship's atrocious. So being disciplined to sit down and take my time in order to write legibly was not my strong suit. And then, of course, I already knew everything about how to read plans. I already knew what the symbols meant. I already knew what setbacks and easements and right-of-ways and what utilities. I had a very...
Yeah, you grew up in having to tackle all that. And it brings up a quick
I
thing.
knew how to read a scale. I knew
Yeah.
how to,
But
I knew how to convert things to scale.
But something today that's been going on for a lot of years with a lot of youth is in the Economic Alliance, and everybody is working heavily towards workforce development. What was we'll circle back up to what we were just talking about, but you start tying in at that age where you're at. Was there any discussion or any thought as to, I need to go to college, or talk about what your decision making around that world, because everybody's talking.
The pressure in high school for us was
What college you going to?
which college you going to, and no speak of any type of CTE,
that was
or trade or for whatever reason that had a stigma back then. And
absolutely, it was like, that's a dirty job. That's,
yeah. And but of course, me growing up, I was dirty.
Yeah.
I was out there doing the work. I didn't mind it. I actually liked it.
Yeah.
So I had taken over my grandfather's role, kind of doing all those odd jobs.
Yep.
I was freshman, sophomore, junior, senior in high school,
Yep.
and I'm still doing all these things that my grandfather was doing. I'm still working with my dad.
Yep.
To my parents' credit, my parents made me buy my first car. I didn't realize till later they were millionaires next door. I mean, literally, when I read the book, I was like, I got past the first chapter. I go, son of a bitch,
My parents.
my parents are hoarding all this freaking money, and they're they can't even give me $15 for gas so I can go play this weekend. Again,
and there's a reason for that. Yeah.
right? But no, it was frowned upon. So obviously, college was on the table. But Steve, I was horribly bored. I mean,
Did they ask you, or did they expect you, or did they? How did they approach you in that capacity as you're graduating?
I really don't ever remember having a conversation. I had a conversation with my grandfather about it, but I don't remember having a conversation with my parents. Quite honestly, I think that they were good either way. I think deep down, my dad wanted me to come into the business with him, but I think he also wanted me to go do my thing. And at that point in time, it was like, I love basketball. You know, I played all 4 years at Deer
Well,
Park.
you're a
and
good basketball player.
Well,
I thought so.
I mean, for Deer Park, I
Yeah.
was okay.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
but that was also an epiphany going to play at other places, and you know, none of the schools that I wanted to play had offered me any type of scholarship opportunity. So, not that you know, I really.
But that would have, so that's interesting because if you would have had a school that you liked and they would have offered, and we'll talk on terms of, you know.
Yeah, but then I'd have just played basketball for another 3 to 4 years and done nothing more.
But
So,
it's just amazing, as we said earlier, we're at this pivotal point in our life where we're looking at both ends, both ways of where we're going and where we've been and who we have in our legacy that's coming in. And so, you know, we try to force things from happening and everything, but then you look back and now you can start to see some things that happened maybe for a reason. So it's kind of
yeah, I mean, really, that you know, I mean, I made first semester I made it to Christmas break, you know, and I walked in and told Dad, I said, I'm done.
And that was at St. Jack?
Yeah, that was at St. Jack.
Yeah.
And I was like, you got a spot for me? He goes, yep, I'll see you on Monday morning. So January 3rd of '89.
Yeah, because I want to say, me thinking back, I remember seeing you around San Jack because I did the same thing. I went to San Jack, David Talent, you know,
Yeah.
and I remember seeing you up at campus, all that, and then all of a sudden you were gone.
Yeah, it was like it just didn't fit. I begrudged it. You know, I had a couple of guys that were helping me with the landscaping and the yard maintenance and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I was rebuilding fences,
Yeah.
and you know, I had 5 or 6 cars to wash every week, and you know, we were doing power washing, and I just anything, trimming trees, anything and everything. Well, these 3 guys. So this was my routine whenever I was in college. That whole 3 months. I'd get up early, meet the guys at the office. Once the mad rush of all the TUT guys left, my 2 or 3 guys, we would go grab the tools that we needed. I would send them off to work. Back then we had pagers.
Yeah.
I'd sit down in the first class and so I'd have to get out, go,
Call somebody from the payphone.
go find a phone, and then
Payphone,
solve a problem. So I was already working. I was already working. I already had a
100%.
full-time job, quite honestly. Again, quitting and moving into the work was not a hard stretch.
But you still had a strong desire for learning. You still do to this day, everything, and we'll get into some of that as well. So you went back to San Jack for architectural design.
Nope, didn't finish. Did not finish.
So that was part of what you were doing in that first semester.
Yeah, it was just
I thought maybe you went back.
101 courses for architectural, whatever it was called back then.
Okay.
And literally.
So it didn't matter. Sitting in the classroom was just not going to be your deal.
I mean, I was itchy. I mean, I'm itchy now, even thinking about it. Like, oh golly, I kind of learned something, or listen to somebody pontificating about something I already know. Just too slow. So
you got out of that.
Got out of that. Went to work full time for Dad, and honestly, for the next 8, 9, 10 years, nothing special at work. My life changed. I mean, I got married. Had 2 kids, 2 daughters. My wife was working. She had her own career, and we bought a house. We bought another house. We bought another house.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And what was before what had happened with your dad? What was your role in the company? What were you managing, and what was your thought process in terms of here's my career path and all
so that? Dad, when I came in on January 3rd, '89, he literally put me out in the field. I was paired at that point in time. I think we had 5 crews. I was paired up with one of the superintendents who I'd known since I was a kid.
Yep.
Well, of course, I was still a kid, and I just went to work. And from there, I moved up to. I kind of started off as a foreman, quite honestly, whenever I moved in. But I spoke just enough Spanish to basically be the trainee for all the new guys that came in, or the trainer. And that morphed into a superintendent role pretty quickly. And then I kind of moved to the general field superintendent role, which was basically managing the schedules and telling my dad when we were able to start things. And, we did a little bit different back then. We actually had a place and finish group that kind of floated around and ended up pouring all the concrete for all the jobs that we had going on at that time. Somewhere around 27, 28, Dad brought me in to, we were waiting on a big job to start over off of 290. Back then we didn't do earthwork or any type of civil work. We were just a concrete contractor. So we were waiting on the demo to happen and the dirt work to be done by others.
And you would come in, frame, and
Then we would come in and do our part. But we were waiting on this job to start. So Dad wanted me to go do it. So he's like, hey, just come in here and help me estimate. And that's what I did. Because, I mean, working with my grandfather and then doing the kind of thing on my own, I was used to estimating. I mean, if you can estimate a patio that's the size of this room, you can estimate a slab. It's just two more zeros.
Yeah.
So he and I were kind of 50-50 at that point in time. And just like my grandfather and my dad, me and my dad didn't work together for all that long. Not in the true sense of day to day.
Yeah.
There at 6, leave it at 6. That kind of situation. It was the Monday of Thanksgiving. I can't remember the year. Mom calls me, pager again. 911. So.
And you're doing that role. What was your dad doing at the time?
Same thing.
So he was doing, y'all were doing mirroring and just managing 50-50 of the operation.
Yeah,
Okay,
and of course, obviously, he's sharing with me the things that are going on with customers. And, I remember him having to negotiate insurance one time, and I'm sitting in on that. And,
so he's letting you dabble in and get a pulse, but he's still leading a lot of that. Finances too.
A little bit. I mean, I would joke with him. I had a spending limit. It would be okay if I went and spent $500 on something without having to tell him anything over that. I had to talk to him.
Yeah.
So I mean, but there was no discussion about coming in and being full time. I was going to go right back out in the field and go do this job.
Yeah.
But weirdly enough, the timing worked out where another superintendent who actually had more experience than me, his job finished up. So he ended up going to do the 290 job. And then we tried to do that hybrid thing where I would go run a job and then still be in the office. But Dad was like, you
got to be dedicated.
Just stay here in the office, because it was. I quickly realized that I was doing the majority of his work too. He didn't like estimating. I didn't so mind it, and of course, I was doing most of the estimating at night. That's a whole other story. But so Dad and I have worked together for a couple of years. As equal, kind of estimator, project manager roles.
Yeah.
He did let me in on some of the business stuff. So I get the text to call Mom. She tells me that Dad's at the hospital. He's not feeling great.
Yeah.
No mention of heart attack, just not feeling great. And again, this is the Monday before Thanksgiving of whatever year it was. And so the prognosis was he needed a quadruple bypass surgery, open heart surgery, and they wanted to do it the day after Thanksgiving, the Friday after Thanksgiving. So that was really the first time I'd ever seen my dad sick, or in a way that, all of us growing up think our dads are invincible. I'd never seen this part of my dad before. I always thought he was very athletic.
He played golf regularly.
Well, even before that, before he picked up golf clubs, I mean, he was out there in the driveway with me playing basketball.
Yeah.
We played volleyball on the weekends with other families, and he was athletic, a very good athlete, and seeing him in that state was a little surreal.
Yeah, because how old was he at that point?
He was 50.
That's what
50.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I think back to that, he was way too.
Well,
we're already older than him.
Yeah, but 3 packs a day, home cooking, no stress, no sleep. I mean, you look back on that and you realize, oh yeah, that's why he had an open heart surgery.
Yeah, because one of the things I want to ask you about is what did you learn from your dad's good habits and bad habits? But keep going. So Dad had the surgery. I showed up on the Monday after he had the surgery. I had a conversation with the guys and
not the whole company, just basically the superintendents
superintendents,
and the other.
I
the
don't need
other
to
two-
know, but
the other two people like, look, Dad's going to be out for a little while. I didn't know, Dad's going to be out for a little while. Mom's going to be taking care of him. So, if you got questions for Dad, you need to run them through me.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big fanfare. It was just, the guys really didn't. They knew he was in the hospital. They didn't know anything else.
Yeah.
So that Monday morning, I kind of explained to him what had happened. So Dad got through the surgery healthy as a goat, starts to recover. But what I didn't know about men of that age who go through that procedure is that depression is very typical, very, very, very typical.
Wow.
Because like I said before, he was active. He was out in the driveway.
Yeah. All of a sudden you're stopped.
Then all of a sudden you have to face your own mortality. And I think any man who's facing his own mortality is going to have a little bit different outlook after that. And
Amen to that.
So
I do know that.
he never really came back to work. What I mean by that is that he tried. He came back initially, but
His heart.
Well, he
Literally
would get
wasn't
in.
in him?
He would get in 2 hours after I was already there, and he would come in and ask for, what do you need me to do? And I'd be like, go pick up these plans. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. Go pick up this set of plans. Go pick up this check and go check on this crew, right? It was 3 or 4 things that I needed help with, just so I could stay on the phone and navigate traffic and all that kind of stuff. The next day he would come in. Did you get the plans? No. Did you pick up the check? No. Did you go check on Chewy? Yeah, you need to tell Chewy, this. And I'm like, Dad, you were right there. Why didn't you tell him to go do all those things? By the way, your name's on the door too. Just tell him, Well, that transition with my dad recovering was hairy. Obviously this is November, end of November. We had year end coming. At that point in time, I wasn't even allowed to sign checks. I'm forging checks. I'm forging payroll checks. Please don't.
That bank's probably
probably
been bought out 3
probably
times.
a felony in 4 states, but it wasn't that I was taking money. I was literally signing payroll checks.
But you're keeping the business going.
So luckily, we were part of a bank that the lady knew our family very well, and she knew the situation. She's like, Ryan, I'm going to take the check signing card over to your parents this afternoon and get them to put you on the check signing card so you can write checks.
Yeah.
So the transition happened pretty quickly where I was then running the day to day. Because I had year end, I had tax planning, I had bonuses, I had all the things that I had never done before.
I was going to say,
I'd seen it, I'd heard about it, I'd witnessed it, but I'd never had to sit down and ask for financials and work my way through the problem solving of planning for taxation. So it was drinking from a fire hose, and it was scary and it was hard, and I made a ton of mistakes. But to my credit, I also asked for a lot of help. I called on
who were some of the people that you?
Bill Dorsett, one of the first phone calls.
Yep.
I got some funny stories about Bill later in life, but Bill Dorsett was one of them. Jim Murphy, another one.
Jim Murphy,
who was a builder that we still work for to this day.
I see him every Sunday at church.
Yeah, he has been a huge mentor of mine, particularly early. And not so much about business, but more about how you do family while you're running a business.
Yeah, put the phone away at 5 o'clock.
All these guys that I'm mentioning, by the way, they did something for me in that transition that was godsend.
And I'll ask you about the mentors and who influenced you and how.
It's a long list.
Yeah,
it's a long list, and I'm very appreciative of all of it. But somehow or another, I got through that first year.
Yeah.
Kept the wheels on the train, and
again, if we're going to reflect and look back at what we just got through talking about with your grandfather, he figures it out. He's working for Brown and Root. There's no plans and designs as much to do some of the work he's got to do. He figures it out. Come back, 2 generations over, and here you are getting thrust into something similar. It may be taxes, bonuses, or other parts of the business. Nobody was there to show you or explain to you, but you're doing the same thing.
Yeah, mom helped
Sure,
during that
yeah.
transition, but not. I mean, she didn't know who deserved bonuses and who didn't. She didn't know, what bills we should be
Yeah.
overpaying to help with taxation. Probably shouldn't say that online either.
Yeah.
Cut that out. No, I mean it's just regular tax planning for a company, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean it's a family-owned business. So fast forward, the next decade. So the first decade out in the field, raising a family, starting a family, getting married, buying homes, those kinds of things. The second decade was just craziness.
Post dad's
Post that, him not coming back, wild growth, adding services.
How did you feel about that though? When you're like, he's 50 years old. He's been Superman for all these years, and then now you got everything. You're getting your arms around it, but now he's not coming back. Did that?
There was glimpses of that. I mean, there was glimpses of it, but quite honestly, I was a little mad at him sometimes because it was like, dude, you're healthy, you feel good, get your butt back in here. I need the help. And I didn't know all of it. Now, did Dad end up being my ultimate mentor and coach and confidant? Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
But weirdly enough, when we ended up being partners, which that came later, but. Because
he still owns the company. Right?
Yeah, I'm just an employee.
Yeah.
I'm just an employee, and was for the first 5 or 6 years after he came back. So but to be fair, it's not woe is me. They paid me very well.
Oh,
they shared
yeah.
at the end of the year,
Absolutely.
and so allowed me to and my wife to buy a nicer house and then buy a nicer house and buy another nicer house. So, I mean, it wasn't like, oh, woe was me, I'm just an employee, I'm underpaid. No, they treated me very well, very well.
Yeah.
And of course, they also always spoke to me as if it was my business.
Yeah.
So, and I always spoke to them as if it was my business,
When did your sister come into working with the business?
Much later.
Yep.
She came in probably kind of at the end of that rough decade.
Okay.
Really more as a replacement for Mom.
Okay.
Really more as a replacement for Mom, because Mom.
Because as your dad got up to speed, your mom came back as office manager.
In that decade, from him having the surgery to me like being owner, that whole decade, it was crazy. I mean, it was a lot of growth, a lot of change, adding services, falling on my face a couple of times, having to deal with some pretty difficult jobs and really difficult people. That was probably the most eye-opening part of it.
I was going to ask you what was
the people part.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, the work, the customers, even the managing money and learning how to read a profit and loss and a balance sheet and getting the skill sets in order to become a really good owner, that was only 5% of it. The other 95% was dealing with the people.
Just dealing with your employees.
100%. Remember, this is Dad's team. This isn't my team.
That's a good point.
Everyone
you're
there
inheriting, and again, going back to the whole thing, it's not even laid out as a trajectory and a perpetuation plan. I mean, it was known to be there. But then, that, you're handling everything.
Yeah, and it wasn't I didn't even think of myself as, a general manager, or I was just literally showing up, solving problems, and trying to keep it under 12 mistakes a day.
Yeah,
1 an hour. If I keep it under, if I didn't make a mistake this 1 hour, I felt like I'd accomplished something. Yeah. But so that decade was hard, and I didn't have any help. My 50% of the estimating went away, during this whole decade of craziness. My parents bought an RV, they traveled a little bit, come back into the business for a little bit. And,
but you're handling everything.
Yeah. And so, Dad's probably there half the time.
Yeah.
He shows up every morning for the most part, somewhere around 9 or 10, but then after lunch, he's out of there.
Yeah.
So, but it was enough for me to
still be able to.
Yeah, I was able to,
because you had some institutional knowledge. You could still
100%.
Yeah,
100%. And really, I didn't know it. He knew it. I think he had formulated this in his mind. You know, he's got energy. He's got the want. Let's feed it to him. Let's see how far he can go. And to his credit, he gave me a lot of rope, probably more rope than I deserved for my skill set.
Yeah.
For my skill set.
Well, was there ever a point in some of that to where you're like, I don't know. I mean, why am I doing this? You know, or was there anything like that?
Yeah. Dad and I had a couple of rough spots where he was trying to dictate his will from afar.
Yeah.
And really I knew better because I was in it, you know, and whether that was my own shortcoming, not being able to explain the situation and why or advocate for myself, you know, because I was still subservient to him.
Yeah.
I didn't think of myself as an owner. I didn't think of myself as a manager. I was really there to implement his will, right?
Yeah.
But there was a couple of times there where he was telling me to do certain things, and I'm knowing that they're not catastrophically wrong. They're just not a good fit for where we're going and what we're doing.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I wanted to implement, you know, like starting to do dirt work and storm drainage and utilities, he wasn't on board with that. I mean, I remember the first time I saw a mini excavator come to market, and I saw this thing work, and I thought to myself, this is going to revolutionize our industry, and it did. This was getting away from backhoes and going more to specialty equipment to do specialty jobs. And I remember the very first time I said, I want to buy a mini excavator. Nope. Like, no, really, I want to buy a mini excavator. Nope. We got all the equipment that we need.
Yeah, and this is the guy that, you know, doesn't want to give $15 to go put some gas.
So long story short, we bought a mini excavator, and that was probably one of the very first fights we ever had.
You just went and bought it, and then
I leased it.
Yeah.
I made a deal for a 6-month lease because I figured, all right, I'll show it. I'll just show him.
Yeah.
Later,
was he still pissed about
that? 100%. You know Jeff Taylor.
Oh, I knew Jeff Taylor for sure.
He was upset, but that was also part of the learning, right? Was learning to come into my own I mean, eventually I give great credit to my wife. My wife kind of coached me into being a leader. You know, I was a manager. That's really what my job title was. But it wasn't until later that she kind of, you know, honey, you know what's best for the company. Don't back off from that. And that was not how Dad and I's relationship worked.
And when did Heather start to come into the business? Because she
Steve.
Yeah. Oh. And I'm glad you said that, because I absolutely wanted to ask you about how Heather influenced you in a lot of your growth.
That was the end of the decade of terror that I call the decade of terror, which was after I came into the office.
Because you're dealing with your dad's personnel.
Yeah,
you know, your
my sister was struggling, who had kind of taken over the duties for Mom.
Yep.
My sister was struggling, so Heather came in and out of the business. Like, she would help us find a new CPA. I mean, I remember complaining about our CPA because of urine stuff. Yep. And my wife helped me find a CPA from afar. She would help my mom, like when they were going through the estate planning stuff. She helped with that. My wife was always in the background, patiently listening, patiently giving advice, patiently propping me up, and helping me get to the point where I no longer thought of myself as a manager, but more of an owner and a leader, a true leader, somebody who would set the vision for the company. And I think my dad came around to that when, you know, and we had to go through these dust ups. We had to go through these scrapes. We had to go through these things.
Who wants to give up authority even to your own child in a lot of cases on something that you've always been the one that's made the decision
100%.
and you decided it, and
really it was his company that was built. I mean, I would like to think I made it better.
We'll get to that for sure, because you absolutely did, and your dad even told me you did when I talked.
Really?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, 100%. Had some conversations with him, but okay, so let's kick over to, because this is important, as you know, part of your development as an owner and, like you said, as a leader. You know, you can see the seeds from your grandfather. You can see, you know, the role and the things that your dad and your mom played in some of that capacity. And then, and now as the roles are starting to transition and everything, now Heather's is taking, she's got a job and a career she's doing. But then you start having kids, you have 2 daughters, and, talk more about Heather and what how she's helping you.
Heather's filling in the blanks. I mean, really, she navigated the family-owned business like an expert. I look back at how she kind of influenced T&T without much fanfare. I mean,
How did your
there was no rhyme or
parents?
reason.
Yeah.
I mean, she would just show up and solve a problem and then leave.
Yeah.
When my sister was struggling, she came in and replaced her during that transition.
Yep.
And that was tough.
Yeah.
Those were some dark times for the Taylor family.
Yeah.
But luckily, my sister suffered from addiction, and like so many families, deal with.
Yeah.
And we were no different. Later in life, my mom ended up in recovery.
Yeah.
And so, that kind of all came up to a head about the time when the ownership transition was happening.
Yeah.
And so I had to make a decision, to stop enabling my sister to do what she's been doing. So that meant that she needed to go work someplace else.
Wow.
And at first, my parents were on board, but then they waffled a little bit. Having kids now, I see how easy it would be to not
To agree to have your daughter fired. Yeah.
100%,
Basically.
pretty much. Yeah. So Heather also was the catalyst for that. She was the one that was telling me in the background, this isn't about you and T&T and your parents. It's about your sister. If y'all don't do something quickly, you're going to lose her. I mean, she's going down that kind of a path using those types of drugs that you just don't come back from.
And she's intertwined in the business, and I mean,
so Heather, I give Heather 100% credit on that, because I didn't personally have the bandwidth, the skill set.
no, you're in the woods. You're in the mix.
I'm-
You can't see forest from the trees.
I'm dealing with 100 phone calls a day, and
and your parents are right in there with it. What an amazing perspective for her to be able to stand back there and advise you, and you be willing to listen. I mean, because a lot of business owners are pretty headstrong, and you don't want to.
Yeah, I don't ever think of myself as a know-it-all. I mean, quite honestly, I've always taken the position of being a dummy. I mean,
you take that too far in many cases, But
No, but
I agree. Knowing you don't definitely try to come in thinking
I
that
see two types of leaders.
Yeah.
The headstrong leaders and the collaborators. I'm way more on the collaborator
Yeah.
side. I'm not a confrontational person by nature, so that doesn't fit well with me. I would much rather ask opinions and gather information. I still am too quick to act sometimes. I don't maybe ask the right questions or ask the right people, but I'm better as a collaborator, not a collaborative leader, as opposed to
well, and
my way or the highway.
but a lot of times, and we always shy away from this, and it's even for our kids, but we know what the truth is, which is, you do something, you make a mistake, you feel the pain, but you learn a valuable lesson and you move on.
Yeah.
We don't want to do it we don't want our kids to make the mistake, but yet we know we can tell them don't touch the fire, but they still got to know to touch the fire, they got to burn. And so it's no different in business, right? I mean, it's
100%.
It's like you go, why did I go do that? It's like, because your natural instinct is, I need to go see if this works, because I'm probably going to learn one way or the other, whether it just needs a little adjustment or, don't ever do that again. Shame on me. But otherwise, it's like you want to see the moving parts actually go function in the real world, and then go, no, that's not good or whatever.
So Heather replaced herself with someone who is still with us today. She basically takes care of all the APAR, most of the HR stuff. Now she's doing it for 2 and 3 companies that we have operating. So Heather was instrumental in all of it. I mean, from the get go, me being out in the field and being very understanding of working long hours and weekends, and you know, she nudged me in the right direction about how to be a good father and a good husband. I didn't know how to do either one of them very well. Didn't have uh, a good feel for time management as a young person, and she kind of kept me on track. And then during the transition, I mean, she heard a lot about what was going on during the day, and she gave me great feedback, and without actually being there. So she's quite honestly, she's the biggest mentor I've had, but we've learned it together, and now she pretty much just handles the quote unquote the investment side of our work. But
yeah, and she sees the good in you. She sees what you're capable of doing. You, like many guys, will all have head trash. We'll all doubt and question, what we want to do or what we think we can do. And it's good to have a foundation of somebody behind you that sees the good in you and says, no, you're not seeing it, but keep going, and don't miss this and those kind of things.
I pick at her because she's great at seeing my shortcomings.
Yeah,
and I always tell her,
because they got to tell us also, you need to stop doing that. You need to pull back. That's not a good idea. You're spiraling out of control.
But she's been the constant one that for my growth. I'm talking about personally growing in the business and learning to be an owner.
And talking mentors and such, and seeing the areas of your grandfather, your father, your mom, and we really didn't talk much about your mom though. What how did she mentor and help you? What are the parts that she brought to you in terms of characteristics or things to pay attention to that
she didn't get enough credit, Steve.
Yeah,
my mom, like all of our moms, we put them on a pedestal for the right reasons. But mom in her own right was a really good business person. The thing that I really got, her and I's personality are very similar.
Yeah.
Whereas one of the reasons why Dad and I butted heads a lot, because Dad was where I'm a collaborative leader, he's more of a
headstrong leader.
Let's do it this way.
My way or the highway.
Pretty much.
So nope, that's Jeff Taylor.
That's Jeff Taylor. So, but Diana Taylor was a different soul. She liked a great leader in her own right, but she liked the people side of things just like me. Or that's what I got from her. The service side.
Yep.
Dad, in a million years, he never deterred me from any of these things, but God, he must have had to stomach it and bite his tongue so many times where I would, be doing something for Habitat for Humanity or for the school district or for the city or for the Rotary Club or for,
And that's true. Your mom was. She was city council. She was in Rotary. She was in all these community things.
Heritage Society, Parks and Rec Board. I mean, she just served. I didn't necessarily aspire to that, but you get invited to to the Rotary Club, and that exposes you to the community, and then you kind of fill in your little niches along the way, and that's what got me to the serving on the school board and
that's right.
And the bank boards and the all of that.
Well, and the thing I just want to impress on in terms for audience people, thinking about this and wanting to, consider or just it's who is in your life and how are they helping you and who is in your life and that you're learning from, and good and bad, and but then also the different roles you play in the community, in the business, and then some of the different challenges you face and things like that.
My mom, I have no idea where she got this background from, but she was brilliant at reading a profit and loss and balance sheet.
Really?
Yeah. She was
So did she handle a lot of the finances where your dad wouldn't do that? But your dad did
100%.
estimating, so it's not like he didn't know numbers and all.
He knew how the job went.
Yeah.
And he knew what the bank accounts were, but he didn't know how the sauce was made. And Mom taught me how the sauce was made. She was.
See, that's really, and she didn't go to college, right?
No, she learned it on the fly. But interestingly, she was great at steering my dad without my dad knowing
Yeah,
that he was being
no.
steered.
I think,
And,
yeah, I think every mom that's got a headstrong, or husband, absolutely knows how to.
And to be, I mean, I'm glad he's not around to hear this, but Mom and I conspired against Dad
Yeah,
several times.
I think that's a common
You know,
thing too. It's like,
And she was also the catalyst that I believe that, told my dad, hey, we need to give him some ownership. He is next.
yeah,
He wants it. He's got the capacity.
he's proven it. Yep.
I think she was the catalyst behind it all in her quiet way, right? All from cooking and cleaning for him and
Yeah.
having dinner ready at 6.
Yeah.
And so she was a big influence with me because she was the one that I could vet about Dad in our relationship.
Yep.
And without impunity. And
Yeah.
she was also the one that would softly tell Dad, my concerns, or she was a peacemaker. She could wear so many hats in so many different situations. It's not even funny.
Yeah. And it's neat how you lay that out in terms, because I work with a lot of business owners, and in between finances, knowing the trait or the marketplace you're serving, and then taking care of the personnel. I've yet to see one individual that can do all three of those. And many times it is, brothers or father and son or husband and wife or mother and daughter, whatever the combination is. And it's amazing the inherent traits of, this person knows financing, this person knows.
That's one of the reasons why I love Daryl. I mean, he's an honorary Taylor member because he's got skill sets that I just don't want to do, right?
Yeah. How would you describe Daryl Corbin's
so
job?
Daryl's my quarterback. I call him a quarterback because he's literally he's great at taking a game plan and putting it into play. And so, but he's also a great strategizer. So he's a good assistant coach too. We're using sports analogies. He's truly he's a good quarterback.
Smart guy.
Smart guy. Kind of my alter ego. He and I,
he'll call you out just like he's a brother.
Yeah, just like exactly. Where I'm a little bit too quick to make a decision with not enough information and then move on to the next thing, or get distracted by the next thing. He's more focused on the process and the team part of it than which is a skill set I just don't have.
And so you talk about being a collaborative leader. So was that easy then to be able to invite somebody in rather than a lot of people want yes men or yes persons around them? You and
I specifically sought him out. I knew from
he would challenge you.
Well,
or at least
seeing other business owners and being friends with folks that are in the same boat.
And I want to come to your association group and talk a little bit about that because that's another thing. And then I want to go back to
every industry needs something like that.
Yeah, and we do something very similar in our industry as well. But okay, keep going.
So
with Daryl.
Daryl's my alter ego. He's also someone I've known since I was 6 years old. He's also has been a part of my life for these last 30 plus years, 40 years.
Yeah. So to tell everybody, we actually went to high school with Daryl Corbin as well. Yeah. So, but he went a different route. He's technology guy.
Traveled all over the world. Teams, worked for huge companies.
Yeah.
Owned a couple of businesses himself.
Yep.
He's got a different pedigree.
100%.
But weirdly enough, he's really set up well for this.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because, when you said he was coming to work in the business and everything, I just remember thinking, Daryl's really smart. He can figure out so many different systems and processes.
He was one
and
of
all
those
kinds
mentors.
Of things. But I was like going, I wonder what he's going to like, going to work, in family business, not that it's, but I was just it was really interesting. I go,
for the last, we didn't even realize it, but we started to look back. But for the last 12 years, he'd come into town. We'd go eat lunch. We'd go hang out.
Yeah.
His wife and my wife are really good friends, which they conspire against us now. So, but no, he was hearing about all of this, and
Okay.
obviously he knew the family dynamics, and not having a construction background, he came in and has fit in and has been accepted, which is the weird thing because, I got a couple of guys, particularly the field guys, that, if you don't know what you're talking about in the field, they don't have a whole lot of respect for you. Whereas Daryl came in and said, I don't know much about the field, but I need to know.
Teach me.
So teach me. And of course, the other thing that the field guys they need to know that you have their back, that you're gonna advocate for them whenever things get shitty. And he's all about that. If you're on his team, you're his team.
Yeah.
And he's gonna fight tooth and nail to win for you. So.
That's fantastic, and I think the lesson there in terms of for those listening and everything is the fact you're bringing somebody in that's not from your industry, and you're bringing somebody in that is your alter ego that literally is going to question what it is you want to do, and you coming from an environment where your dad was my way or the highway. And you're coming into your own and figuring out, you're more collaborative and you're okay with somebody, even though now you're the boss.
Yeah.
Everything runs through you or at least you get the final say. And, but yet you still welcome, an alternative
weirdly
viewpoint.
enough, having that conversation with Daryl before he came on, he was point blank, how candid he is. He's like, all right, so I want to hear it from you. What you think my role needs to be.
Yeah.
And I blurted it out.
Yeah.
I just told him what I needed and how it needed to work. And, I told him, I said, not to sound like an asshat, but my name's on the door. I'm going to make the final decision. And he's like, cool. And him being subservient to me, it's a weird relationship because if I ask him to do something, he'll absolutely go do it. But only if he agrees that it's the right thing for the company.
Absolutely.
And there's been times where I've asked him to do something. He's like, all right, I'm going to need to know the why.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't like the why, he's going to ask
questions.
He's going to ask more questions.
Yeah.
He's going to make me prove to him that it is the best thing for the company.
Which is fantastic.
Oh, how do you
quantify that?
And how do you train that? How do you, I mean, So I remember asking my dad, I said, Dad, am I messing up? Because I had this epiphany when we were kind of vetting buying the other general contracting company. And went to lunch with Daryl, told him my plans. He's like, you need help? I said, I absolutely do need help. He says, well, send me the financials. We'll look over it together. I'll tell you my opinion. That's how that all started.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know the story.
Yeah,
that's how it started. So somewhere in all of that, when I was negotiating, him in my ear, negotiating with the other the two owners to buy the business of the other company, somewhere along in there, I wanted to bring him in and have him run the company. And so I talked to Dad about it. He's like, son, y'all should have partnered up years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? That was not the answer I was expecting from him because. Dad started every sentence and every conversation with what you need to do is fill in the blank.
Yeah.
What that meant was what you need to do, what you personally need to go take care of and handle. He wasn't a big delegator, to say the least. So, and that's why I always felt like a number two instead of a number one.
Yeah.
Is that I was always filling in the blank.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, you need a guy like Daryl. Because he was the first one to point out critically and not so critically that he's your alter ego and that either it's going to be really good for you or really bad. He says, y'all have a strong enough relationship that y'all can be mad at each other one minute and then joking about something the next. And we've had a couple of dust ups, but. By the end of the day, we've kissed and made up and we're moving on to something else.
Absolutely. And you got to be able to do that. Different situations, different problems can create different reactions and concerns and ideas of what needs to be done to solve the problem. And there's going to be disagreement, but you got to be able to agree to disagree. Somebody's got to make a decision because things got to move forward and then you got to get over it and move on.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest one that we had was literally 3 weeks after we had bought the other company.
I can
mean,
imagine because
maybe 2 weeks after we bought the other company, we were talking about moving people, getting them on the right seat on the right bus. And basically what Daryl did, again, I wouldn't even have thought of this, but Daryl was like, hey, we need to interview everybody at the company one-on-one, just me and you, informal, and just get their feel on, are they happy? Do they like what they do? What they have seen, what they would like to see with this transition? What are their fears about this transition? I would have just showed up and started telling people what I needed, and then, did the seagull management where I go there and dump a whole bunch of
poop on
shit
everybody.
and then move on. But he literally took the time and made me sit through these interviews, and we were arguing about whether or not we thought this one person would be a good fit for this role.
Yeah.
Ultimately, he did what I wanted, but guess what? It wasn't right.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good fit, and the guy didn't do very well, and he ends up coming back to us later saying, "Man, I don't know if I like this role."
Yeah.
To his credit,
Well, and everybody knows, at some point, as you've been in business long enough, that if something's not a right fit, don't keep them on because it's not good for you. But yet you don't want to fire them. But ultimately, it's not good for them. They need to go someplace else because it's probably miserable on both sides of the
even
equation.
Worse, this particular employee is less confrontational than I am.
Yeah.
So he really had to muster it up to come in there and tell us that. And Daryl, again, Daryl, to his credit, he's sitting next to the employee, staring me
Why
in the
am I
eye.
not surprised?
And
Didn't have to say anything, right?
Didn't have to say anything. I mean, he gave me one look of,
Told you so.
But then after that, I mean, nothing. And of course,
well, and that proved something to you that where he's
you were
seeing
reading
things.
my mind, Steve.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I mean, and that's why this works.
Yeah, his credibility went way up.
Yep.
And he wouldn't have even done that had he not had the care and
because I literally used this as an argument to him whenever I was passionately advocating my side. I was like, Daryl, you don't
just
have the
don't
construction
understand.
background.
Yeah.
You just don't understand, dude.
Yeah.
Sit back, watch the master work.
Okay, that is your personality.
Sit back, and
take notes, buddy.
Yeah, take notes. Lessons. School started, but no. I mean, but that unspoken look that he gave me made me realize that I need to listen to him. I need to, and
that's
if
fantastic.
if I can't sway him with an argument, then chances are it's probably not a good idea.
Talk about your concrete association, and for those of you, a lot of people have something, have associations that they get involved in, but you've got a group that are independently owned and operated concrete companies similar to you, but they're not located locally, so they're not going to be competitors to you. But they're going to work as a peer group.
Yeah.
And talk about the model, what y'all have set up yourself outside of the concrete association after y'all met, and then what you do to help each other, because I think that thing is so amazing for helping your business and seeing things. Talk about that association, but really the peer group you guys built out, because this was post dad, right? This is after dad's not in the business, or did dad?
Dad's still in the business, kind of, sort of.
Okay.
I mean, we as a collective group have been meeting now for 16 years. We're going on our 17th year, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So the American Society of Concrete Contractors is a national trade association set up for the concrete construction industry.
Okay. Yep.
Through that association, they came up with this idea for mixed group, MIX, Management Information Exchange.
Okay.
So they spend a little bit the association spends a little bit of time gathering up contractors who are in different markets, in different sizes, and they put them together and hope that they get a cohesive group.
Yep.
We were actually the second group that was formed.
Okay.
The original group, the pilot program, believe it or not, they're still together
Wow.
after 20, I think it's 21 years this year.
Okay.
And they're, weirdly enough, 3 out of the original 6 have retired or sold their business.
Yeah.
And 2 of them have passed away, and there's only 1 that's still going, and it's a family-owned business. But the principal, I think he's 81 now,
Really?
is still meeting. They brought on a couple of new members since, just like we have.
Yeah.
But the core group is still there. So we have a group out of Cleveland, Ohio. We have a group that's out of Raleigh, North Carolina, Houston, Texas, Atchison, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Tulsa, Oklahoma City, and Tulsa, and Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
We've had other groups. One of the original was in Portland, Maine. So we had Portland, Oregon, Portland, Maine. They since sold. And,
yeah.
And then shortly after that went defunct, but which is sad. But this group basically goes around. We have 2 meetings a year.
Yep.
So in the spring and in late fall, we go to each other's facility to make each other better. And the concept is relatively the same. We fly in that evening. We all go have dinner. The next morning, we go through company updates for all the entities. So
everybody comes in the office.
Everybody comes to a big conference room.
Conference room.
We talk 15, 20, 30 minutes about each other's businesses and where we're at. The last one to go is the one that was visited last, and they get to talk about the changes that they implemented. The idea behind the mixed group is to basically come up with ideas and observations that we present to the management or ownership. And speaking from experience, about 80% of it because you're in it. 20% of it's gold.
But yeah, so they're coming in, and you're initially everybody's sharing some things about their business and what's going on. The one you just last visited gives a report, but he's giving a report because when everybody's there, just like if you're hosting and everybody's there, they're there to get into your business now.
100%.
So talk about
100%.
what they look at. Talk about
it's a polite colonoscopy. So
that's a good way to put it.
Again, the write up that we get at the end of these exercises, we're truly trying to. And this has morphed a little bit too, because quite honestly, over these 17 years, we've had a CEO fired. We ixnayed a major purchase of another company, subsidiary.
They were going to buy somebody else.
Yeah, we ixnayed that. So
wow. So
we've overstepped our bounds a couple of times.
You think, or you
think? Yeah. Because like the CEO.
Well, but ultimately, the decision made by the company receiving the feedback makes a decision, right?
100%.
Yeah,
100%. But I guess our rhetoric could have been a little softer and maybe more encouraging in other words,
you need to get rid of this guy, or else.
Some of this was a little bit too candid and too frank.
But do business owners typically want to hear it candid?
100%.
So again, why would you say that it's over? It was over.
The CEO termination was a little bit, in my opinion, probably handled wrong.
But that's the how.
Right. The motive was good. The motive was that we're trying to make them better, and we saw an issue with this person.
Yeah.
How we presented it could have been a little bit softer and a little bit more encouraging and a little bit more.
Because you did it to the CEO, or no, you just told
wasn't. He got the write up after we left. He wasn't part of the group, so that's the other thing. The last day,
so they gave him what you said, and it was very. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So in other words, so this is the process. We come in, we have dinner. The next morning, we go over company updates. From there, we typically will go see a couple of jobs. We'll tour their facility, we'll tour their shop, because most of these places have shops, and then the next 2 days basically is just interviewing folks. And we interview people from the field to the office to the shop,
CEOs,
to CEOs,
yeah.
exactly. Typically, we'll have a little bit of a snapshot on what the person who's hosting us, some concerns that they're
Yeah.
trying to flesh out. Sometimes not. Sometimes they're asking us to come in with nothing on the agenda. Just tell us what you see. Both of those have merits in certain ways, but what has morphed is that we know each other very well.
Yeah.
So it's really, really tough to hide. And obviously, they're in your industry. It's not
Yeah.
like you
Yeah. Why are you doing this again? Because
100%.
none of it makes
Weirdly enough, it always comes back to people. It always comes back
sense.
to
Right
people.
back to your first point where,
Yeah.
95% of anything you're dealing with is the
Is
people.
So, we have one group that's they're going to be, I think, 375 million in sales this year in 5 different markets, and
Wow.
then we have us, who's 15 million in sales.
Yeah.
So, but believe it or not, their
Same
problems are the same problems as we're fighting, and vice versa. So, but that joining that group and participating in those exercises has been probably the biggest growth personally, growing into an owner, growing into an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is about the time that I joined was about the time that I was transitioning from employee to owner. And they opened up the world to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I was able to see how other small family-owned businesses operate. The one in Atchison, Kansas, if you were just to change the name on the door, it almost looked the same.
Yeah.
Third-generation owner
Yep.
came up through that enterprise as well. Then there's the being able to see how you grow a business from a $15 million to a $375 million, and what that takes and what that looks like. I also realized that not all businesses are owned and operated by the owners. The names on the door, they're typically, 2 of the bigger companies are hired guns. These guys,
They brought in somebody,
They
a
brought in
CEO or-
somebody.
yeah.
one of them grew it organically. The other one came in and cleaned up a huge mess. The OKC and Tulsa guy, he was hired straight from college and said, "Here, go start this division of this." They were literally a flea on the dog. Now they're more like the body of the dog. Several years later, they're going to be $100 million a year business pretty soon.
But so those guys were able to even look at whatever reason they wanted to or couldn't, or had shortcomings to grow it. So they bring in somebody else.
Yeah, and in the one that's 375 million in 5 different markets, this guy started at the company as a finisher
Wow.
in the union.
Wow.
The ownership recognized pretty quickly that they wanted to, because they're a union shop. The workers are, the office folks aren't, so they pulled him out of there and to basically run they were a general contractor
Yeah.
that had a concrete division.
Yeah.
Since then, through this guy's leadership, the CM, or the general contractor part of the business, has gone away. It's been sold off, and now they're just strictly concrete,
Yeah.
and they've expanded to all these markets. And so being able to see that intimately and watching this transpire over 15, 16, 17 years now, it's been eye-opening. And and quite frankly, it's driven. It's aided in my growth, obviously, but it's
Yeah.
also driven how I look at our company and how I operate our company. In other words, I'm not interested in being $50 million a year business and having those issues.
I think that's a fantastic point, because I think in many cases, people that are aspiring to be an owner and thinking, maybe get drawn up in the thought process that, if I'm not $100 million company, if I'm not the biggest company in the world, and all that. You and I have a good mutual friend that owns a general contractor business, and he's like, I just want to be between $3 and $5 million. I will make a really good salary every single year and pay myself very well, and I've got less headaches to deal with.
He works half a year.
Yeah, and no different to your point in the same thing. You're like going, I want to be this size. This is what I'm comfortable with. Could you grow to scale? Absolutely. No, you could, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
But being a part of that group made me realize that I like the control, and quite frankly, to grow your business to those kinds of to have that kind of scale, you have to give a lot of that up.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
And you look at the owner of that 300. The name of the company is Donnelly's Concrete Construction, and that owner, who grew up as a general contractor, concrete was always a sideline to him.
Yeah.
And by the way, he's a third generation owner too. Him to put all his stock into this one young man who, by the way, Mike Dilly is brazen, he's loud, he's confrontational, he's all the things that I'm not.
Everything it takes to scale a business.
Everything it takes to scale a business. And again, the self-realization for me is that I'm not any of those things, and it's not in my DNA to do that.
Yeah.
And why even try?
Yeah.
So I'm perfectly comfortable. Not that we don't push and
No, yeah, exactly.
It has nothing to do with the drive. It has to do with the desire. And the desire would never even enter my mind to be $100 million a year business. So
yeah. So these guys come in, they're obviously same industry, all different size and experience. And so it's given you a peer platform.
100%.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, if you're in an industry that you can participate in something like that, it's worth its weight in gold. Because this is what it costs you.
Yeah.
In order to host these guys, I pay for their food while they're here. I pay for their good time, because we usually have a fun activity that we do.
Yep.
We've always done Texas Hold'em tournaments. They ask for it every year.
And to everybody, I'm the one that gets called to come in and
Steve
set
gets
up the whole poker tournament, and everything.
I bet you that whole exercise cost less than $10,000, but it has helped us tremendously over the years. Yeah. I can't say enough good things about it, and can't say enough bad things about it, because it truly, you can't hide from these guys. They will flesh out the most minute things that you need to look at, but that mean better results at the end, and they're truly there to help you be better. It's not malicious.
And it goes back to your understanding of yourself and your collaborative approach to leadership and ownership.
It fit right in my
wheelhouse. It fit
house.
perfectly. And I just think it's so good, because they're not a threat to you. They're not in your region. And so they can be very honest. And then after you get to know them after so many years, and you each got and after, a 6-year cycle, everybody's been in everyone's business and had a good hard look at it.
This is year 2, maybe year 2 that I'm part of it. I think we've been to 3 places at that point in time. We were going to Ohio to meet them for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we knew the guys because they had been at the other locations, but we were going to Ohio for the first time. And I brought a set of plans with me because I was the only estimator at that point in time, and I had to get some work out.
Oh, while you were gone, yeah.
While I was gone. So I had to cut short, I think, the second day of going to look at a couple of job sites so I could hurry up and get this bid done so I could get it out. And one of the guys was like, "You don't have anybody else in your office that can estimate?" I did, but this one was for a good customer.
Yeah.
And, and I'm like, "Well, yeah, but no. I mean, I'm the estimator." And they're like, "Dude, you're the roadblock. You're the issue with your company. It's not gonna grow, because how much more can you do, Ryan? Physically, emotionally, spiritually, how much more can you really do?" And that epiphany was like, "Oh crap. This was Dad's way of running the business.
Yeah.
You did it all, right?" And so that realization of having to hire somebody. Well, granted, whenever I got back, Dad asked, "How did it go?" And I'm like, "Went well, but I got to make some changes."
Here's
like, what kind of changes? And so I need to hire an estimator. "Oh, son, no, I don't know if you want to do that. That person will be your competition in no time." And I'm like,
"Oh, he's worried about that person leaving and
starting their own business." And I'm like, "Dad, I don't have that luxury. I mean, first off, we're not going to grow anymore because I physically cannot do anymore.
Yeah.
But there's just not enough hours in the day." And at that point in time in my life, I know this sounds crazy, but I was at the office at 6, which meant that I probably stayed up till midnight estimating, because I put my family to bed at 10 p.m. I would estimate or work for another couple hours. I'd get up, crack of dawn to go to work. Then lunchtime, I'd go home and I would eat, take a nap for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then I would be right back up there to close up. I did that for almost a decade.
Yeah.
So
who can keep up? I mean, it's amazing to go a decade doing it.
It was atrocious on my health. I was carrying around 40 pounds more than what
I know, and I remember that time we were doing functions and things like that. You were much heavier.
Yeah, and very unhappy.
Yeah.
And that whole epiphany of doing the things that you love and you like in your business is way more beneficial than grunting through and bearing the things that you don't like. Estimating was easy to give up. I didn't enjoy it. Now, did I have to standardize it to where we were making the same donut every time?
Yeah.
100%. So I spent the time and we created an Excel spreadsheet that's 40 pages, probably too long, but it made us. It allowed us to build the same hamburger over and over and over, and it allowed us to train people to do estimating our way. And so it allowed me to get out of estimating, and we grew because of that. And we were allowed to expand services and put people in the right seat, and all the things that you got to do to run a successful business.
Things that essentially your dad was not even equipped to offer you in terms of a mentorship or anything, and not against anything regarding him. It's just he'd never done it. His thing was keep everything tight, do as much of it as you can yourself. Otherwise, you're going to give too much institutional knowledge to somebody who's not part of the family, and you don't know if you can trust them, and then they're going to be gone, and then they're going to take your business. I mean, it's like you can see
it was the autocrat way of governance.
Versus the other guy that says, go start this division, you cocky guy that is out of college, but I'm not going to jack with this, and just like you said, letting go, and then you got a $300 million company.
Pretty much. Yeah. And to his credit, to Mike Dilly's credit, I mean, he literally went against every, at that point in time, I think Donnelly's was 65, 70 years old for 3 generations. I mean, you talk about ingrained in bad habits.
Yeah, exactly.
And for an owner
he's third generation, right?
And then to hire, to bring a kid in from the field to basically revamp your concrete division. Yeah. I mean, you need to get Mike Dilly on your podcast, because that's a story all to itself. But that was a catalyst for a lot of change at TNT, and I would advocate. I know small business owners really don't have time to do much extracurricular things other than run a business and raise a family. But if you can participate in something like that broadens your interest and vision of your industry, you should do it.
Well, and it broadens your knowledge just by somebody else's wisdom, having lived it and can actually attest to it. And it's not like in the Vistage type world and everything where you're trying to get to peers because you're owners of companies and you're going to collaborate. This is bringing it a level up because these are guys in your industry that have actually are talking about the same materials to buy, the same type of work to do, the same type of staff to have. I mean, there's just so many. And
then there's the unspoken accountability part of it, which is, if they just visited your facility and 4 or 5, 6 months later, you're at another facility and you're giving company updates. Yeah. You better have addressed some of at least the big ticket items on the list. Yeah. Because they're going to call you out on it. I mean, again, you can't hide from these fools because they're in the same seat you are. Yep. They're dealing with the same problem. So it's been invaluable. Best time spent, best money spent exercise that's affected our business.
And I've seen it over the years. You and I have actually worked together for some time in about that time period. Your dad, one of our first meetings together, your dad was there. and you were there, and you
By
made
the
the
way,
decision.
viewers out there, Steve's a really good risk consultant. BCH is the name of this company. If you'd like their contact information, I'm sure it'll be at the end of this podcast.
No, but I mean, but because my point is though, in saying that is that, and then being invited to come in and sit down with these guys, even if it's poker, I've been able to, we set up the poker game, we have a tournament, we got food, we all sit down, I'm at a table, we're at a final table and everything. And I'm listening to these guys, and half the conversation, other than cutting up, is about what you guys have talked about. And obviously, what you've talked about that I hear is about what they're evaluating your business on.
And our
And
shortcomings.
it's the night before they're going to present everything to you. So they've already interviewed the superintendents and everybody in the office. And so, and then to tie that even more, I clearly remember in talking to your dad, how he's like, I could have never grown this business like Ryan has done. He's taken us to so many different areas and done so much more that I've never even fathomed, and the pride that he has in saying all that. And so it's a testament to you. I mean, because you're different, but again, you have an idea, but you're willing to listen and take it into new areas and new heights and things like that.
Yeah,
So,
there was no plan. It was just,
Yeah.
I mean, truthfully, my whole leadership of TNT has been reactive.
Yeah.
I mean, it really has. I mean, just solving problems, just trying to figure out the best way to do things, best way to help customers, the best way to be a blessing to our employees. I mean, it's just, it's not hard. Answer the phone.
yeah.
Do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, it's a little harder than that, but
I know,
but
but
so, and you say something about it in this capacity, but and I know you're a man of faith, but how has faith played a role during this whole entire process? How has it helped you in any capacity? What kind of role has it played for you when you think through?
So, I was actually thinking about this the other day because me and my wife were having a conversation about churches. My parents were not religious. We didn't go to church. I didn't know anything about the Bible until I met my wife. And really the catalyst there was my mother-in-law wanted me to be a Christian. She wanted to secure my afterlife, and because she's a Christian, she's a godly woman,
Yep.
and she wanted her daughter to be with a godly man.
Mm-hmm.
I fought it pretty hard and always complained about having to go to church on Sunday when I just wanted to sleep or
Mm-hmm.
play or work out in the yard. But really later in life, both my daughters got very involved in their church, and every spring break we were in another country. Or
I remember you telling me, where are you going? I'm going to Germany.
yeah,
We're
going to Mexico, going
Yep.
out,
Haiti.
Haiti. Following my kids around, quite honestly, is what got me into church, and so. But that morphed into me understanding more about the Bible, and faith for me has always been a personal journey.
Yeah.
It's not the conventional quote unquote way. I mean,
Yeah.
Obviously things happen in marriages and life that make you question it all. And for whatever reason, that was comforting and it made sense to me. The more I read the Bible, the more I understood what the Bible truly was.
Mm-hmm.
It
Life book.
Kinda, and kind of a love letter to us,
Yeah.
and really joining the men's group, iron
Yeah.
sharpens iron.
Yeah.
It gave me a little bit of peace, and it gave me a little bit of solace knowing that I was on the right path and I was doing the right things. Knowing that the acts that I was doing for service and for organizations is not the pathway to heaven.
Yeah.
And
That is-
salvation.
Yeah.
I still struggle with faith.
Yeah.
Again, we don't attend church regularly, but faith is a big part of kind of who I am.
Mhm.
I tattooed it on my arm, for sin shall no longer be my master, for now I'm no longer governed by law, but covered by faith and grace. You know, leaving it better than you found it
Yeah.
came straight from the Bible.
Yeah.
And, and really what I'm supposed to be doing for my community, for my family, for my customers, for myself is making it better as I go along. Because I have that capacity. Yeah, it's small. It's not going to be noticeable to everybody, but it's going to be noticeable to me and my family.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I want to, I want to honor my family by being a godly man. So
And
it's hard to explain.
Yeah,
It,
I'm similar. I grew up Catholic, and to me it was just
the rules and regulations.
Yeah, it
didn't
was
make any
just a
sense.
routine, and so I fought it, and Amy was the same way, and not until we had kids and things you started realizing it, and not until later in life you start reading the Bible and you start going, oh, I guess I should have started reading this a lot sooner, because
Yeah.
it's amazing the life lessons that are in there to help guide you, and so yeah, I think
I mean, frankly, I've been very. I mean, we have been regular members of probably 4 different churches.
Mhm.
Quite honestly, we follow my son-in-law because he started his career in churches, and obviously our daughter's being very involved. But now I look at churches and I just think that they're doing it wrong. I mean, they're not taking care of the widow. They're not taking care of the orphans. They're not taking. I mean,
yeah, a lot of them are built like businesses, and
Yeah.
it's and you said it too. It's a personal relationship that you have, and with God, and if that makes you better, following in the footsteps of Christ, and as best you can. We can never be that way, but
and really, my spiritual walk now is kind of like the highs and lows of what I guess normal Christianity is. But there'll be times when I won't read the Bible, or I won't feel connected,
I know.
and then there's times when it all makes sense and it feels right. But I don't know. For whatever reason, it's always showed up at the right time.
Yeah.
Whenever I needed it.
Yeah.
So I think that's the best way I could explain
Yeah.
how it's affected my life, is that it's just kind of been there whenever I needed it.
Did you expect, or are you surprised the girls didn't get into the business, or did they, or what did you think in that terms? Because I want to get into then where do you see the business going, but one thing's for certain, they've grown up, and it doesn't seem like they're going to be involved at all, at least at this point. But did you expect anything like that? Or?
I never really exposed it to them the way I was exposed.
Yeah.
And I think a little bit of it was a conscious decision. I mean, yes, being your own boss, being able to make your own decisions, fulfilling your own destiny or prophecy, whatever you want to call it, those are great. But it's hard.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
And
although Paige does show inclinations.
She does. She's got the entrepreneur bug.
Yeah.
And at any time either one of the girls wanted to be a part of the business, or my son-in-laws, I mean,
Yeah.
I would welcome them with open arms. But I'm also a businessman, and I also know that none of this is going to be given, just like it wasn't given to me.
Yeah, very much so.
You're going to have to show the skill set and have the skill set.
Earn your stripes. Yeah.
Earn your stripes. And now, would I deter them? No. But have I advocated for it? No, not really.
Okay.
And mostly because I wanted them to live a little simpler life. I mean, my way is not necessarily the easiest or the best path. I look back. Would I change anything? No.
Yeah.
Would I? Are there things that I wish that I was smarter and better equipped to handle? 100%. I mean, I look back at some of my interactions with, going back to Dad's team. These weren't people that I hired, or
Yeah.
they all knew me as a young man.
Yeah.
And even though I worked hard and they knew that I was serious about the work, I was still known or something. you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
that was a stigma that I could not stand. I hated,
Yeah.
and that's one of the reasons why I worked hard,
Yeah.
because I never
You want
liked.
to show them I wasn't.
Yeah, and I mean, most of the time I didn't even bring it up. You
Yeah.
know, it wasn't a thing that I advertised, and still don't to this day. You know, it's like it's just most people will make up their mind about you before you even open up your mouth because you're the owner side.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so but again, would I change it? No,
Yeah.
I really wouldn't. I really wouldn't.
So tell everyone about the companies you own. What do they do? And then, you know, as we're wrapping things up, you know, share with us, you know, where are the companies going? You know.
So TNT Construction, the family-owned business, we do civil work, concrete work, storm drainage, dirt work, those kinds of things. Basically, from the foundation down.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, about 4 or 5 years ago, we bought another company called ENS Construction. They were a general contracting firm. Weirdly enough, that was a weird dichotomy. The two principals that owned ENS and me and my dad years ago started investing together, where we built office warehouses, storage facilities,
Spec buildings.
spec buildings,
Yeah.
those kinds of things. And when the two owners wanted to retire, we didn't want that business to go away. I mean, they
Yeah.
constituted 15 to 20% of our work every year at TNT. It was going to be a lot to replace. And really, the general contracting shtick better fits my personality, quite
Yeah.
honestly.
Well, yeah, you've always dabbled into investing into certain developments, land, and then you help. You're the segment of the group of owners that bought a piece of land to determine what and how something can be built on there.
So it felt easy, and I already knew everyone in the company. I mean, I dealt and worked with every one of those guys pretty much daily for years. So it wasn't an unknown. It wasn't Now, were there some struggles right off the bat? 100%. I mean, when we walked in the day that we actually made the deal and money changed hands, we walked into a company that had $336,000 in backlog, which that's not a lot for a company that usually does about $12 million in sales.
Yeah.
We had 22 people on salary, along with the old owners that were making a pretty decent salary too. So yeah, it was a little hairy, but it worked out. Last year we did a little over 16 million, and this year we'll probably do somewhere around the same.
Fantastic.
I mean.
And TNT is about 15 million, you said?
Yeah, 12. Last year we did a little over. Yeah, last year we were way off. I think we did a little over 10.
Okay.
And so this year we've already got that much sold.
Yeah.
February 16th or
Nice.
20th or whatever the day is. And then recently we started another company that's a development company. And the idea, so through all this transition of, Daryl being a quarterback at
Mhm.
ENS and the purchase of ENS, and then also him moving into the quarterback role at TNT, we had a little powwow at the end of last year. We were talking about the future, and what we want it to look like is a situation where we are doing more work for ourselves and for our groups of investors.
I got you.
Kind of being more in control of our destiny
Yeah.
and what the gross number is going to be by 2030. So we basically put into effect this 5-year plan to morph all three companies, TNT, ENS, RD, DevCo, into a true development company that still probably does 20% of our revenue will be outside, but hopefully 80 or so percent will be inside.
Yeah.
And what that'll look like is that we'll have groups of people that want to invest into real estate or office warehouses or storage. Some of these groups will want mailbox money. Some of these groups will want to flip and move on to the next thing. We already have groups like that we're a part of, that we invest with. So by 2030, we're hoping that we have a core group at all three companies that will work together to to go knock down these storage projects or this land acquisition into
Yeah.
a subdivision that sells property and develops buildings and those kinds of things. So we just started. We just hired a young man to kind of be the face and leader of the DevCo, and so 2030 is the plan where we kind of transition from working for everybody else to kind of working for ourselves.
So to kind of finish up and and thinking about the core purpose of this podcast in terms of owner origin, if you're talking to Ryan Taylor, 22 years old, just getting started or involved in anything, what's some of the advice you would give him? I know you wouldn't change a lot of different things, but if you're like, okay, here's one, two, three, whatever it is, things that I just need to tell you to be aware of. Is there anything? I mean,
first, be a good spouse. I mean, really, really, really figure out how you can make your spouse better, and
that goes back like to Jim Murphy. We didn't even
yeah,
have time to run into Jim Murphy,
we
but
spend a whole nother episode.
But Jim Murphy, and to everybody knowing, is he's somebody that at 5 o'clock he put away the work phone.
Yep.
And it was family time
Yep.
at that point, and anything that was work related could wait to the next day.
I got to tell this story
Go
because it's
ahead.
important.
Yeah, please.
So we were trying to beat weather. We poured a foundation over in Pasadena, adding on to a building. We poured like right at lunchtime. So it was I think early fall. So cooler weather. So I mean, me and another guy were finishing this little slab at 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Mr. Murphy pulls into the parking lot, and he lived a couple miles away. And I'm walking over to him to say hello. He's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You got a wife and 2 young kids at the house. What? Why?" I mean, he was literally upset at me.
Yeah.
It's like, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
He says, "I'm like, I'm finishing your job, dummy."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
he's like,
how about a thank you?
Yeah.
That's what you're thinking, right?
Like, did you bring donuts or kolaches or
Yeah.
something? But no, he was protecting me in my
Yeah.
relationship with my wife by
Yeah.
telling me that, and I didn't need to be there. I really didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like I was the only one that knew how to finish concrete at T&T Construction. No, I could have easily have put somebody there that wanted the hours. Now, you could argue that they were taken away from their family too. But that's not what he was saying to me as a friend, as a mentor.
As a mentor and a peer, as an owner.
Yes, he's telling me that I need to be realistic about my time.
Well, because I think he's coming from a place, and he and I have talked about it before casually, is that because unlike the worker, at times that person's going to have to work late, and at times they'll be taken away from the business. But a business owner will be consumed, and if you keep allowing it to consume you, it will never end.
It'll never end. Yeah,
Yep.
and that was the message, right?
Yeah.
That, without saying it out loud, that was the message. The other thing is I got to give complete credit to my wife because raising kids and having fully functioning adult children, godsend. Both of our girls are striving, flourishing. They're very good at their careers. We were lucky enough to be able to make sure that they didn't have any school debt, so they had a really good start in life. But these young people, they
both
own
went to
homes.
college.
They both went to college. Both got degrees. Both have homes. Both have thriving careers. We were blessed to not have to go through the drug phases or the rebellion phases or any of that. I mean, our girls made it way too easy on us.
Yep.
But also attribute
But a
that to my wife.
testament to Heather.
Yeah, it's a testament to Heather.
Absolutely.
So really, I mean, and trust me, those two things will help you in business, because if your home life is shit, your you're going to struggle. I mean,
So being a
or
good
you're going to
spouse,
hide inside your business, and that's not healthy either.
being a good spouse is one of the pieces of advice.
Yes.
What else would you tell your?
Being a good father, figuring out how to be there for your kids in a way that helps them, honors them into adulthood.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, if you can do those things and you like and enjoy your job, the rest of it kind of rewrites itself. Yes, you still need to always be a learner. You always need to, that's one thing that I probably have learned the most throughout this time is that you're a lifelong learner no matter what job you're doing.
I think that's really important too, because
Just
everything you've talked about, in this time we've been together has been how much you've learned from incidents to mentors, including, Heather being you highlighting her as one of your biggest ones, is constantly learning, not being afraid to learn, not being so full of yourself that you don't need to learn. Because the world will humble you very quickly when you think, just like when you talked about with Daryl in that one instance where you're like, let me, class is in session, and then how many weeks later he's looking at you and you're like, all right, touche, I learned the lesson there,
and that's one of 4,000 examples I could have given. No, I mean, I actually fought the lifelong learning thing. I thought I knew everything at 25, 26, 27.
Well, we all did, yeah.
And then all of a sudden I get thrown into this new role. And it's like, Roro,
yeah,
I'm a dummy.
Yeah.
And I don't know near enough and so survival mode kicked in and now you're drinking from a fire hose
and that's where being open to collaboration, being open for other people to have input, it's all played a great role.
The only other piece of advice I would give, again, it's not really work related. Figure out how to enjoy it a little bit. I never really looked up. Money didn't mean much to me. I mean, it was a scorecard that I kept because I wanted the businesses to do well.
Yeah.
And then I realized that, you better take care of your own personal wealth or yourself, because no one else is going to do it for you. So I had to learn that skill set too. But all that kind of came naturally. But what I've learned at 55, what I didn't know at 25, which is, better enjoy it. You better at least try to enjoy it somehow, some way.
And to tie that into one last thing is enjoying it, but then you and I have both seen, a health incident, and where, you're now looking back going through everything, the stress that it puts a toll on your body physically, your body mentally, you're not sleeping, you're worried about things. And at one point, over the last couple of years, you and I have both talked a lot about resetting, pulling back, recognizing this midpoint in our lives to where, if our health is not good, then nothing matters. I can't take care of my family. I can't do all these different things.
Yeah,
so,
I mean that time between my 30s, my entire 30s and some of my 40s, especially early 40s. I mean, I was just completely unhealthy.
Yeah.
I mean, just completely unhealthy. Just abused my body. And guess what? I'm paying for it now.
Yeah, and that's probably advice for that 20-year-old is don't lose sight of taking care of yourself. Otherwise, you can't take care of anybody else without that.
Because those three things, take care of yourself, being a good spouse, being a good father. I mean, if you're not doing those three things well, honestly, you're not gonna succeed. You're gonna succeed. You're gonna be out of balance. Yeah. And the point of all this is to be self-reliant, self-gratifying. I mean, you just having a big bank account, trust me, does not bring happiness.
Yeah, exactly. Self-fulfillment.
100%, and understand why you're doing it. I mean, I didn't have a purpose, quite honestly, for the first 15, 20 years because I was just literally solving problems. I didn't, it wasn't until I joined the mixed group and
Yeah.
started listening to the people that were trying to pour into me, like Mr. Murphy that one evening,
Yeah.
you know, that I realized that, oh yeah, I'm supposed to enjoy it too, you know, and trust me, I do it a lot different than my parents did. I mean, you know, I lost both my parents here in the last 24 months, and I miss them terribly. But one of my biggest regrets with my parents is that I didn't push them harder to enjoy what they had worked and built up.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yes, I advocated for them to get an RV and told them to go play, but they did that once or twice, and then they didn't do it very much often after that. And I'm like, I should have pushed harder. I should have told them to enjoy it more.
Yeah.
I am. I mean,
Yeah. And that's good. And you know, yeah.
I got like 84 days of vacation this year.
Good for you.
84 days. Now, some of them are, you know, Saturdays and Sundays that we're going to be out of town, but I bought the big ass map that you hang on, a big ass calendar that you hang on your wall.
And you got them all.
And you got all
color
coded. I'll send you a picture of it. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, this thing's peppered with red because it's I got a lot of playing to do. I mean, we got a trip to
Georgia.
To Georgia. When's the Ryder Cup coming to 27?
Oh, in 27,
Yeah,
we're going to Ryder Cup. That's right. That's
Yeah,
going to be fantastic.
So we got a river cruise this year. We got a bunch of time in our place up in the Pacific Northwest. We got, you know, Vegas trips, Cabo
Fantastic.
trips. Yeah, we're gonna play hard.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming out and doing this. I really appreciate you taking the time to share. I mean, and like we talked about before as well, it's like, how do you fit 30 years in a couple of hours of a conversation? You can't. But I hope that, you know, we got some key nuggets of things that would help anybody, you know, whether they're a current business owner or somebody aspiring to own their own business, that can take some of the different things from your story. And again, too, Ryan, yeah, I hope it's okay in saying this though, is that if you're somebody that wants some input or wants to collaborate and say, Ryan, can I ask you a few questions? You'd be available
100%.
to, yeah. I mean, you're part of the impact program with the Pasadena Chamber, which is, you know, mentoring to aspiring community leaders and things like that. And so, yeah, I hope that what you're able to get from this in your story that will help and inspire others to be able to get on their own pathway as well.
So.
Good deal.
So where do I pick up my check?
Yeah. Yeah, the check is in the mail.
The check is in the mail. Yeah.
All right. Well, that being the case, thank you again for tuning in, and watch for the next one that comes up.
Well done, Steve.
Thank you.